All right, so the Black Business Council in the Built Environment has gathered academics, the private sector, government officials for the second Built Environment Indaba with a focus on transformation and legislation. The council represents black construction and professional organizations in the country and says that there are long-standing challenges that need decisive intervention by legislators to protect the industry. The BBCBE wants the local construction sector protected from foreign players, particularly from China. The Black Business Council in the Built Environment's president, Danny Masimene, says the sector lacks transformation and better coordination on projects between the government and the private sector as well. Our President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the public procurement bill into law back in July of 2024, and the process is now with the National Treasury. Those in the sector also want government to attend to the red tape, the lack of support, delayed invoices, as well as crime affecting the industry. Many want plans in the 2025 budget to be implemented to ensure that the proposed 100 billion rand transformation fund is established to benefit black-owned businesses. All right, so for more on this discussion, CEO of the Black Business Council in the Built Environment, Gregory Mofokeng, is going to be joining us this evening. Gregory, good evening and thank you for your time. So in view of what was discussed, perhaps you could take us through what has been unearthed. If we are looking at the weaknesses in legislation as well, perhaps in regards to the operations of foreign construction companies and how they interact with our environment, what has been unearthed, so to speak?
Well, good evening to you and to the viewers. Look, what we have obviously experienced is the influx of Chinese construction companies into the local market. And one striking feature of these companies is that they are majority owned by the Chinese government. And so the problem that we're having is that, the local construction companies are finding it quite difficult to compete against these companies, which are here obviously to try and dominate the local market because of the capacity that they have amassed over the years through implementing significant construction projects in China. The Chinese market has obviously experienced challenges recently with the property market collapsing in China. And now these companies are looking to participate in other markets elsewhere in the world. And South Africa is part of those markets that, are being targeted by these Chinese companies.
All right, Gregory, so thank you for painting that succinct picture because we've obviously on the positive seen some of the growth aspects. We're looking at public works and roads, perhaps even potential for local jobs. But if we are looking at the manner in which things are operating, perhaps you could speak to the issue about the awarding of contracts. Are they winning this at a lower rate than, than compared to local firms? And if you're looking at supply chains at large, are they using or utilizing local expertise and materials, or are they using their own supply chain? What's really coming to the fore as we speak, if we're going to quantify the impact?
Well, the reality is that they are coming in significantly cheaper compared to our local companies. And the reason is very simple. They don't have to declare profits because they are owned by the Chinese government. And even if they, run these businesses at a loss, the Chinese government will pick up the tab. We don't have that benefit as the private sector in South Africa. So once you register a loss as a construction company locally, that loss has to be absorbed by the owners, not by government. So we don't have government support, and that's a significant difference between our local companies and these Chinese companies. Secondly, to the point that you are making around supply chain, what we are witnessing is that they are undermining our localization, policies by maximizing the imports that they can bring in from China. So we are definitely not benefiting our local, manufacturing sector, through the Chinese companies as they, maximize importing as much as possible from China.
I wonder if we can then look at the operation support that government can offer, perhaps if they speed up this process as well. What's expected on that front from your vantage point to really aid local business, to empower them, our value chain at large as well?
Well, our approach is to actually look at policy reform in this space. One will also, I have to acknowledge that China is one of our largest trading partners, and they are also our, a member as far as BRICS is concerned. So you don't want to start a trade war with China, and so our view is that we need to look at how we can restrict their participation in the local market, make sure that they come in, and participate in projects that are quite significant in terms of value as well as complexity, and still create sufficient space, for our local companies to participate in the market and to run their businesses sustainably. If we have to recall what happened to our textiles industry, in the late 90s, it was facing similar set of challenges, and we delayed our response, policy-wise, and today we have got no textile industry to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a valid point. I wonder if we just go to the point of skills transfer as well. Potential for local employment. Any concerns on that front with regards to working conditions, the wages that's on offer, perhaps versus the Chinese counterparts? I mean, any of that discussed?
Well, what we're seeing in the projects where Chinese companies are actually participating is that they actually have local partners, by the way. So they do have local BE partners. However, the challenge is that the local BE partners are just not getting the skills and knowledge transfer that we were hoping that they were going to acquire from the Chinese partners. And so that's one of the challenges that we are facing, and that's one of the problems that we have with how they conduct their businesses locally.
Gregory, as we conclude then, if we're looking at advancements, investments, loans, even technology and innovation as well, how do you foresee this playing out? If we're going to be looking at collaboration, perhaps taking away, all the positives and negatives, what do you think is a plausible way forward? What were some of those suggestions that had been highlighted?
Well, of course, one of the issues that the Indaba looked at is issue of how do we partner, to bring about investment as far as, infrastructure development is concerned. And we do welcome investors that are coming in, around the globe. So we have to remain open to partnering with investors coming from all corners of the world. However, that investment must happen taking into consideration our local conditions. And part of that is that, global companies wanting to partner with us to roll out our infrastructure program have to partner with us here locally. They must observe our laws, such as broad-based Black economic empowerment. They need to make sure that they procure their inputs locally, and we have to work collectively to create jobs here. So we do welcome, in international investors in our country and in the infrastructure in particular. However, we are saying as we do so, they must definitely respect how we do business in the country.
All right, Gregory, thank you for your time. We're going to leave the conversation there following the second Built Environment Indaba, of course, that wrapped up. We had CEO of the Black Business Council in the Built Environment, Gregory Mofokeng, weighing in. We're looking at transformation, localization issues, the strides that have been taken are really the way forward as that Indaba obviously wraps up.